Henry Cole sat in his favorite corner booth at Murphy's Diner, the same booth he'd claimed every Tuesday morning for the last 5 years. At 81, his back was still straight, his posture unbroken by the years of service and sacrifice that had shaped his life. His silver hair was neatly combed, his jacket simple, with a small faded American flag pin on the lapel that most people never noticed. In his weathered hands, he held a cup of black coffee and a newspaper, his morning ritual in this quiet little town. The diner was more than just a place to eat breakfast. Its walls were lined with black and white photos capturing the town's history, children in 4th of July parades, families gathered after Sunday services, young men marching off to war. Among those faded photographs hung one taken decades ago, a group of young soldiers standing in a desert, grinning beneath a battered flag. Few realized that the determined young man at the center of that picture was Henry himself. Sitting beside him this morning was Walter Briggs, 75, Henry's oldest friend and fellow veteran. Walter had lost both legs in combat years ago and now moved through life in a wheelchair. Despite his injuries, his spirit remained unbroken. Every Tuesday, the two men sat side by side, drinking coffee, sharing memories of the past, and honoring the friends they'd left behind. It was a ritual built on brotherhood and unspoken loyalty. The peaceful morning shattered with the roar of a motorcycle engine outside. The sound was unmistakable. The Iron Vultures, a violent biker gang that had been terrorizing the town for months. Their leader, Jake Thunder Morrison, was a towering brute of a man, 6'4", nearly 300 pounds, covered in tattoos that told stories of prison and bloodshed. Thunder had been coming to Murphy's for weeks now, demanding the very corner booth where Henry and Walter sat. The first time, Henry had quietly moved to another table. The second time, he'd done the same. But today, Henry decided he'd had enough. The door swung open with a crash. Thunder stomped inside, his heavy boots echoing like drum beats. The diner fell silent. Mothers held their children close, and the waitresses froze in place. Thunder's cold, cruel eyes locked onto Henry and Walter. "Move it, old man," he snarled, his voice dripping with menace. "That's my table." Henry didn't flinch. He calmly folded his newspaper, placed it on the table, and looked up at the biker towering over him. "I've sat here every Tuesday for 5 years, he said evenly. "I'd appreciate it if you found another table." The room seemed to hold its breath. Thunder's face turned crimson with rage. He wasn't used to being told no, especially not by a frail, elderly man. With a sudden, vicious motion, he slapped Henry across the face. The sound cracked like a gunshot, echoing through the diner. Henry's glasses flew off and shattered on the floor. Walter gasped, pushing himself forward in his wheelchair. "Enough, Thunder," he shouted, his voice shaking but fierce. "You don't get to treat a man like Henry this way. Not him, not ever." Thunder turned his glare on Walter, his lips curling into a sneer. "Stay out of this, cripple," he growled before violently shoving Walter's wheelchair. It tipped over, sending Walter crashing to the ground with a sickening thud. Gasps filled the room. A waitress dropped her tray, dishes shattering at her feet as she screamed. Henry dropped to his knees beside Walter, his hands trembling as he helped his friend up. Walter clutched Henry's arm, his voice breaking. Don't let him take this from us, Henry. Not like this." Something ancient and unyielding stirred inside Henry. Slowly he stood, his shoulders squared, his head held high. In that moment, he wasn't just an old man. He was a soldier again, standing firm on the battlefield. Thunder laughed cruelly. "What's the matter, old man? You gonna fight me? Look at you, you can barely stand." Henry said nothing. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his cell phone. The entire diner watched, confused. Thunder smirked, assuming Henry was calling the police. "Go ahead," he sneered. "Bring 'em on. Won't change a thing." But Henry wasn't calling the police. He called his son, Michael. The call lasted only 10 seconds. Henry's voice was low and steady. "Michael, it's me. I'm at Murphy's. I need you to come. Now." He hung up without another word and slipped the phone back into his pocket. Then, without hesitation, he moved to a nearby table by the window, sat down, and calmly poured himself another cup of coffee. His silence was more terrifying than any threat. Thunder roared with laughter. "That's it? You call for backup?" He gestured to his gang members. Lock the doors. Nobody leaves until I say so." Two bikers rushed to obey, turning the key with a loud, ominous click. The customers huddled together, trapped and terrified. Minutes passed like hours. Walter struggled to sit upright, his face pale from pain. The atmosphere grew suffocating. Thunder strutted around the diner, bragging loudly about how he ruled this town, how nobody dared defy the iron vultures. Each word was a knife twisting in the hearts of the townsfolk. Then, a new sound cut through the tension. Engines again, but deeper, heavier, synchronized. Not the wild roar of Harleys, but the steady, commanding hum of military vehicles. Thunder froze, his eyes narrowing. "What the hell is that?" The sound grew louder. Everyone in the diner turned toward the windows. Shadows moved outside. Then, with a single powerful crash, the locked doors burst open. 12 soldiers in full-dress uniform marched in with perfect precision. Leading them was Michael Cole, Henry's only son. He stood tall, his freshly earned silver oak leaf insignia gleaming on his shoulder. The room went silent, awed by the sight. Michael didn't speak at first. He simply crossed the diner, his boots striking the floor like a heartbeat. When he reached his father, he knelt beside him, his voice tight with emotion. "Dad, who did this to you?" Henry didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes shifted toward Thunder, cold and unrelenting. Michael rose slowly, his entire presence radiating controlled fury. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Michael Cole," he said, his voice ringing through the diner. "The man you just assaulted is my father. He served this country with honor for 35 years, and you," his voice dropped to a dangerous growl, "you will answer for what you've done." Thunder tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Michael's soldiers fanned out, positioning themselves between the townspeople and the bikers. Their movements were precise, disciplined. These were not local cops. These were warriors. Michael grabbed Thunder by the arm and hauled him outside. The door closed behind them. Inside, the diner fell into a hushed, trembling silence. Walter squeezed Henry's hand. "He's got this," Walter whispered. "Your boy's got this." 7 minutes later, the door opened again. Thunder re-entered, but he wasn't the same man. His swagger was gone. His shoulders slumped, his head hung low. He crossed the room and dropped to one knee in front of Henry, his voice cracked with desperation. "Sir, I'm sorry for everything. I swear we'll leave this town. You'll never see us again." Henry studied the broken man before him. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of a lifetime. "Respect isn't something you take by force," he said. "It's something you earn. Remember that." Thunder nodded frantically, then stumbled out the door. The iron vultures roared off into the distance, their engines fading like the last echo of a bad dream. For a moment, silence reigned. Then applause erupted, a wave of gratitude and relief. Mrs. Murphy wept openly, rushing to hug Henry and Walter. The townspeople surrounded them, shaking their hands, thanking them for standing tall when no one else could. In the days that followed, everything changed. The iron vultures never returned. The townspeople, inspired by Henry's courage, began looking out for one another, standing up against fear. Murphy's diner became a symbol of community and resilience. Henry's corner booth was officially named the Veterans Table, marked by a wooden plaque carved with the words, "For those who served and for the freedom they protected." 2 weeks later, the mayor presented Henry with the Citizen of the Year award. At the ceremony, Henry's speech was just one line. "I am not a hero. The heroes are the ones who never made it home." Michael stood beside his father, tears glistening in his eyes. In that moment, Henry reached up, adjusting his new pair of glasses, a gift from the townsfolk after his old ones were broken during the fight. He looked at Michael and said softly, "Sometimes you have to lose something before you can truly see." From that day on, Michael joined his father and Walter at the diner every Tuesday morning. People from all over town would stop by just to shake their hands, to say thank you. The corner booth became a gathering place, a living tribute to sacrifice and honor. The lesson from Henry's story is simple, yet profound. Real strength doesn't come from intimidation or violence. It comes from courage, dignity, and the willingness to stand up for what's right, even when you're outnumbered and afraid. Henry's stand reminded an entire community that freedom isn't just protected on the battlefield. It's safeguarded every day by ordinary people choosing to do the right thing. This isn't just the story of a fight in a diner. It's the story of a father and son, of two generations united by love, duty, and the unbreakable bonds of honor. It's the story of a town rediscovering its voice, and a reminder to all of us that true heroes never stop serving, even after they hang up their uniform. Stories like this remind us why we must never forget the quiet heroes among us. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to share it, not just with friends and family, but with anyone who believes in courage, honor, and community. And if you'd like to hear more powerful true-to-life stories, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss what's coming next.